introduce yourself and just like what you do and like what you're part of here?
Yeah, my name is Mike. I'm one of the owners of Grant Avenue Studio. We've owned it for about 2 years. We bought it off of the guy who originally opened it with Daniel Lanois back in 1976, and he ran it for about 40 years, and we took it over about 2 years ago.
Okay, what made you want to take over the studio? Like, what drove you to do so?
Well, I came up in music. Music's always been my kind of my main thing, and then I veered off and got into film after being a failed rock star. I've always been writing, recording, performing, and the thought of owning my own studio has always been a bit of a dream, but not one I really thought would come to fruition. And then I had my son Tyler, and about 6 years ago he started kind of bedroom producing and writing and learning multiple instruments, and it got to a point where he was ready to go to school, and he's graduating high school, and we were looking at all the different schools like Metalworks and Fanshawe and OE Arts, and it just so happened that right at the exact same time as we were going through that, a guy that I work with in film was partners with the guy that we took over from, and he mentioned that he was looking to wind down. He's in his 70s, and as much as he loved the place, he just couldn't do the day to day anymore, and or didn't wanted to start winding down and enjoying life outside the studio more, and the idea was we didn't want to lose another music icon. This is consistently the longest running studio in Canada, and it's just so much good music, and high profile artists have been through these doors in the years over the years. We didn't want to see it go to a developer, and so just the timing was right, and like I said, it's always been a passion of mine. And so I called up my partner Marco, who runs DC Music in Toronto, a rehearsal spot that is very popular with bigger bands, and then our head engineer Andrew. I've known him for years and years and years, and we've played music in separate bands, but always running into each other. And so I called them up, and we had a quick conversation to see if we thought we could make it work, and we did, and here we are.
That's
So
amazing. Yeah, no, that's great, man.
very
Like, I know
long-winded
this.
version, but
Yeah. No, it's all good. But like, this place is pretty historic, like you said. Like, I've heard things already. Like, can you explain like why it's such a valuable like part of music history? Like, who's come here specifically? Any stories that you have of this place? Like,
yeah, well, I mean, the idea was that Daniel Lanois had started kind of experimenting in his mother's basement in Ancaster, and got to a point where he was doing enough, and getting known enough that he needed to find a spot that was a little more robust, like a proper studio, and not just his mom's basement. And so the story that we heard was that he had looked kind of in Toronto at like different industrial places, kind of like Metalworks, and then eventually they just settled on buying a house and converting it into essentially the ultimate home studio. And he just built his name up by around experimentation, and just really having a sense for sound and composition and melody and all that, and eventually that music makes its way to people that are at a higher level, and they create a relationship, and come here and create just some of the most fantastic music. And one of the most famous bands to ever come through here is U2. Like Daniel Lanois got a chance to produce U2 with his partner Brian Eno that he had been working with, and they were doing a lot out of here, and so that was, I think, was kind of like the turning point where it started to really kind of ramp up very quickly, and then they started getting many more opportunities with higher profile artists, and then once he left here, and Bob Deutsch took over, it just kind of continued, because Bob had the same caliber relationships, and yeah, and it just I don't know, it just seems like this was a place that people just sort of gravitated to because of the character and the sound, and just like the like just like I said, it's the ultimate home studio, so It's very comfortable. It's got tons of character, and not much has changed since they first opened it. And like what adds to the historic nature of this building is like the idea that like so many people got their start here. Like there's another high profile producer named David Bottrell who went to Mohawk College and interned here, and of course went on to work with Peter Gabriel and produced Tool's two biggest albums, and he's a Hamilton guy, and I believe Ancaster actually. So he got his start here, and then there's a Mark Howard, another high-profile producer who's worked with everybody from Neil Young to Bob Dylan, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Like it's just this place has touched a lot of music, on a global basis. Like, and I don't think people realize how influential the not only the place but the people who came from it actually were on everything that you hear today in rock music, ambient music, country music. This was Gordon Lightfoot's studio of choice for the last 5 albums of his career, and yeah, I mean I could go on.
Well, I actually have a question. It's about there's a certain brick downstairs that's named after.
Oh, the Johnny Cash brick. Yeah.
So you can like expand on that whole history of Johnny Cash, because with the country album and most notorious.
So back in the 80s when they first introduced the ATM machines, the cash machines, Johnny Cash did a commercial, and I can't remember for the name of the company, but they essentially they branded it the Johnny Cash machine, and so they came here, to shoot a commercial in the studio. And as part of that, he performed, and from what I understand, they also re-recorded, "Walk the Line," which is obviously one of Johnny Cash's most famous albums. And then and so the brick that you're mentioning, where they shot the video, was up against the brick wall in Studio A, and he was wearing a blue bandana around his neck. And because where they back in the day when the brickyards that they would get the bricks from, I guess some of them were discolored with blue, and it clashed with his necktie. So he got something from the makeup artist or something, and basically colored in the brick black. So obviously the Man in Black, Johnny Cash, it's and he, if you watch the commercial, which you can still find, you can very clearly see the brick that I'm mentioning, and there's pictures of him standing in front of it downstairs, and so that it's become the Johnny Cash brick.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's the experience been like taking over a company like this over the last 2 years, and what are future plans for the studio that you have? Like you were mentioning, Pine Desk stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's a tough thing to take over a legacy, a building like this, an operation like this, because we're newcomers, and as much as people know or don't know who we are, people are just skeptical. It's like, okay, fine, you took over a historic institution, but are we gonna gut it? Are we gonna do we actually know what we're doing? Do we there's all kinds of questions. So and even Daniel Lanois, he had called to talk to the previous owner and got my partner Marco, and so they had a quick conversation, and he was like, I used to own that place, right? And we were like, yeah, we know, obviously, but people keep asking us, does he come around? And it's, he doesn't owe us anything. This was his place back in the day, and he's been here off and on. He was here as recently as, just a couple of years ago. There's some video of him playing the piano and, that sort of thing. But it's been, kind of okay, there was a lot of people that were very, very happy that we've saved the place, and continue to run it as they've come to know it over the years, but at the same time it's we just, okay, let's see what these guys can do and make sure everything is legit, and so far the community's been very, very welcoming. There's a lot of other great studios in Hamilton too, so it's good. It's a good feeling that everybody's kind of supportive of each other and wants to see the community continue to grow. So it's been good. It's been good. And so future plans is basically just continue to run, just continue to to pump out good music and continue that great, safe kind of environment that just kind of, emboldens creativity. I mean, that's what it's all about, right?
So expanding on that, actually, last night when we were setting up, I was talking with Andrew, and he explained to me when you guys purchase a place and you're rebuilding Studio B out.
Yeah.
You had mentioned that, hey, we're gonna take the old school equipment we got in here, but we're gonna go buy new school stuff and
100%. Yeah.
help out. And I think that maybe comes from your son producing, being in the
Well,
bedroom.
yeah, and I mean, like, the thing with, the gentleman that we bought it off of, like, he had his systems, and like, Daniel Lanois is famously a staunch radar supporter, which is radar is a system that was kind of like, the first foray into the digital recording world, and there's still a lot of people that really enjoy using the radar system. It's almost like, kind of vinyl versus CD sort of thing, and in that regard, and so, we wanted to keep all of that, but still, start to add all the stuff that they didn't add over the years, which is, the Pro Tools and Logic and, Mac Studios, and like, just bringing some new age, it's a more up to date accoutrements, you know what I mean? That
Synthesizers, the native instruments, and things like that as well, right?
yeah, exactly, because like I said, just for 40 years, he had his process, and that's what worked for him, and it was great, and so, we wanted to still respect everything that had come up to this point, and then just, add so that we can, really kind of build out the future, as opposed to just kind of continuing the same thing on and on and on, which is fine, and works for a lot of people. But, if we have the ability to expand the offering to everybody, why not? We'd be foolish not to take advantage of that, right? So, and the expansion with Studio B was like, it just gave us an opportunity to, to get to allow people to come in who don't necessarily need a big studio space, but don't want to be in their basement anymore, or it's also our editing suite, our mixing suite. It's a great, and we might actually turn another one of these rooms into a third one, because it's been very popular. But it's great. We just want to like, it's all about creativity, and just like exploring art, and like just doing it in a comfortable environment where there's not a ton of pressure, and everybody's friendly, and so hopefully that's the environment we've created, and I'm really glad that you guys are here. I'm glad we met, and yeah.
It's also like not shying away from having a studio that can do live instrumentation like we're doing downstairs.
Yep.
Have someone come in that just needs a VST.
Yeah.
And just they got all the instruments to their plug-in right there, and that's the new school of production in some genres now, versus like
100%.
what we're doing downstairs is very much like to the old school type
Yeah.
of style, right?
Yeah, 100%.
But
Yeah.
somewhere like you're really just trying to capture all the audience at this point.
Well, and just not limit the experience, like make it all available, so that, if, somebody who's primarily used to just using, like, in the box, effects and stuff like that, like, now they have access to like a real EMT 250 reverb, or an old school Lindrum drum machine, or a Mellotron, or like an array of different guitars. We have an electric sitar that we pulled out the other night, and it's crazy the stuff you can do. And I think that the only limits really that should be on creativity is your mind, and so if you can think it, we'd like to be able to provide it, so that it's at your fingertips, and because everything is timing. It's like you get these creative kind of flows happening, and the worst thing in the world is thinking, oh man, if I only had a French horn, and then you look down there and there's a French horn, like a real French horn, you know what I mean, and you can kind of go off and experiment with that. So yeah.
Oh, great. Well, thank you so much for your time.